Hello, everybody, and welcome to Know Your Shit podcast, where our knowledge and pride in what we do drives us to be excellent. My name is Josh Cadillac, and I'll be in the driver's seat for today's show as we learn how to stop doing deals, how to stop just chasing paychecks, and how to close customers for life. And we do this by interviewing some of the most successful experts in their field to figure out how they did what they've done in their business. We have a great show for you today because we have a great guest. And is it Tanya? Is that what am I
Yes.
getting this right? Tanya
Yep, Tanya.
Roney. Thank you so much, Tanya, for being on.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to chat. Anything
So
real estate at any time.
there you go. So what is it that you do?
So I do short-term rentals mainly. So I have a real estate business in the Twin Cities, so St. Paul and Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Okay.
And right now we are also just starting to tackle a new project, which is a boutique motel in a rural area of Wisconsin. And yeah, I feel like that's probably the bread and butter of what I do, but I still do some commercial real estate consulting and I used to flip houses. So yeah.
Good stuff. What got you started doing all that?
Um, which part? Commercial real estate or flipping houses?
Your choice. When
Okay,
I ask
so
you, where did you start? Where did the start of all of this real estate stuff come from?
Okay, so it would be like a rewind probably to about 2016, 2017 or so. I was in a corporate real estate like job. I was a project manager for almost 10 years at CBRE, which is a pretty big real estate, commercial real estate place that some people know about. And I was kind of dealing with a client that wasn't my favorite way to deal with. I was working on a Saturday. I didn't want to. There was a couple of things that it was making our jobs a lot harder, and it just kind of was the straw that broke the camel's back. And once that happened, I decided that I was going to jump into like real estate, like personal real estate, I guess I would call it, or residential real estate. So I flipped a house probably 3 months after that conversation on that Saturday in May. And we started flipping houses, did a few of those. And that's kind of what led us into short term rentals and like this whole entire super cool community of awesome real estate stuff.
Gotcha. What do you like best about it?
Um, I like the flexibility and the people. Like the flexibility means that I get to take a Tuesday afternoon off if I want to, and if I want to go to the park or take my niece to the zoo, I can. Like that's the coolest part about real estate is there's a lot of flexibility. You can be anywhere in the world doing some of the stuff that we do. I mean, agents and maybe some mortgage lenders have to do a little bit more FaceTime than what I would have to do, but a lot of it, the whole point is that I can kind of have all that flexibility. And then the other piece has been community. Like my life has changed tenfold in the last, I would say, 7 years because of real estate. I get to meet the coolest people. I get to talk to the coolest people. There are just so many ways to do what we do in real estate, and there's so much flexibility and so much creativity that you get to do that is just, I don't know, it makes life a hell of a lot fun, more fun
Yeah,
than,
gotcha. No, that makes sense.
traditional.
Absolutely. Then the day job, the 9 to 5er.
Yeah.
So where do you think all the success came from for you?
Um, I think it's just willing to, pull off the band-aid in different ways than other people aren't. I'm willing to take on risks that people aren't willing to take on because they feel that security. And I'm not trying to pick on 9 to 5ers because it's not
Yeah.
like everyone has their own lifestyle and what works best for them. But I think I tend to go against the grain in the fact that I don't have to have a 9 to 5 job. I don't have to feel like that's not where I hold my security of my life because I know that at a drop of a hat, somebody could lay me off and then I wouldn't have that secure, I'm saying that in quotations, that secure job
I see the
because
quotes.
I don't know if not everybody is like watching this, the secure job, it's not actually true. So I think going against the grain of what a typical person thinks is really, really great. I've built a whole entire life around doing whatever the heck that I want and figuring things out. And I think a lot of people are scared shitless to do stuff like that, honestly.
Totally. Let the record show, by the way, there were air quotes used in this previous statement. So air quotes were employed. Yeah, no, absolutely. That is a true story. I get it. And the fact that, some people are just more willing to take and put up with the discomfort of standing still than put up with the risk of doing the things necessary to move forward. So
Yeah.
let me ask you this. What do you think in your makeup makes you good at what you do?
Um, I actually think it's probably my attitude and my energy. And that
Okay.
just means like I can go into a room. It doesn't, it's funny because I'm totally an extrovert. Most people will know that once they meet me, but I could go into a
Hmm.
room and not know anybody and I'm still super uncomfortable. Like it just, and you would, like most people are surprised when I say something like that to them because I will go into that. I'll go into that room, I'll walk up to that group of five people and I'll insert myself and start asking questions and things like that. But I think that's a pretty big, like a lot of real estate people can do stuff like that and they do, but I think it's a differentiator when you can go in, start getting people talking about what they're passionate about pretty much immediately and being like, what drives you, what lights your soul on fire, like what can we talk about? And I think that has lent a really good hand to me because I build these communities around me. Like I join masterminds, I love masterminds, I love shortening the curve any chance I can get. If somebody else has gone through 10 years of experience, how can I maybe do what they did in just a few years and then still use their best practices? So I can go into those rooms, I can make friends, and then I love human beings, so I follow up with them. Like I'm a really good friend maker, and it's a really weird thing to say, but I totally am. And I can keep those relationships for years and years and years. Like I still like, I could take an example of somebody I met in my first mastermind, which was a flipping program called Seven Figure Flipping, and I could, there's people in that group right now that I could text today and I haven't talked to them in 2 years, 3 years, and they would still pick up the phone or they would still message me back. Or if I ask for advice, because I know that that one person is really, really good, or their market is Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And, we don't know very many people in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, but I happen to know this guy named Corey that would pick up the phone if I needed something, if I wanted to ask him a question, that kind of stuff. And I think that's probably one of the most powerful things that has seriously like made my trajectory way different than it could have been if I hadn't been honestly friendly.
There you go. Being friendly. What a novel idea. So, let me ask you this. Obviously, you're a fan of the short term rental space. You're a fan of buying real estate, of acquiring,
Mhm.
of building a portfolio, building wealth. What is a tool that you would suggest to our listeners to help them out? Something that maybe you use or that you'd recommend as a way for them to get out of their own way.
Oh, to get out of their own way, that's loaded. To me, the probably the best piece of advice like I could ever give somebody that was really just sitting there stuck would be buying an hour of coaching. I don't care who it's with necessarily, like a mindset coach, a short-term rental coach, a real estate agent coach, a mortgage coach, whatever it is that you want to go to. If you want to be a multifamily person, I would probably hop on a call, like spend the 200 up to $1,000 on 1 hour with somebody that already knows what they're doing. And they do have to have at least a little bit of mindset training or just mindset, in their and the stuff that they
In their
explain
shtick.
their coaching. Yes, in their shtick. Because honestly, I've done that coaching for short term rental people. I can hop on a call with somebody and I just ask them to tell me about their business. And I can tell you within probably 10 to 15 minutes, depending what they're talking about, what their issue is, what their problem is. And and it's just because they're stuck on something that they can't see because they're really blind to it right now. And I think if somebody could hop on the phone with coach, you should be able to get through that. And granted, there are a ton of coaches to choose from. That's like a really loaded answer. But I
Sure.
think the people like that struggle the most, that just can't get that next step, it's something in their mind. It's not necessarily a skill. I mean, you can go out and raise money, you can go out and analyze a deal, you can go out and look for a realtor, make all those connections. But if you aren't actually pulling the trigger on anything, and
If
you
you're
keep
choking on
having
it,
the excuse, well, yeah, and people use the excuse of, well, there's no good deals, or whatever the heck. You just fill in the blank of the 10 excuses that everybody knows that other real estate people use. Well, it's probably something in your mindset that's just needs to be shifted. Yeah.
that makes sense. That makes sense. So get some coaching. Um, what do you see as the opportunity in the market today?
Um, Right now, I guess like mine is pretty narrow vision because I do short-term rentals, and that's kind of all I really want to do at the moment. In a couple of years I'll probably jump into some industrial commercial because that's kind of my jam as well. But I think there's opportunities everywhere for the people that want to hustle hard. And hustle hard might mean you just have to get creative. Like not everybody is putting things on the market. Not everybody is, able to get a bank loan right now, or bank loans are kind of feeling pretty icky because of what's going on. But there are still people doing tons of deals every single month. I watch it. Like I got all kinds of friends that haven't stopped just because market rate or interest rates are up at 7% or whatever they are today. I
Mhm.
think that people that are willing to go the extra mile, which you should anyways. Like if you want to like act like if you want to be a millionaire someday, then you need to act like a millionaire, and a
You make those
millionaire
choices.
yeah, like they're not going to let a 7% interest rate stop them. Are you kidding? That sounds like the stupidest excuse to ever. So if you want to live that life that you're looking for, you actually have to like make it happen yourself, which means going out and figuring some shit out. It means, sending out postcards to people to find a deal that's off market, and maybe that person owns the house free and clear and they'll give you some creative financing. Like stuff like that happens all the time. Like I know real estate investors that do that stuff every single month. So when people tell me that there's excuses and whatever, like there's opportunities in every single one of those excuses.
Yeah, now that makes sense. That makes sense. So, what is the most important thing that you would say you've learned in the process of doing all that you've done?
Um Building your tribe. And I know that's like kind of a weird thing to say, but I have realized that the most success I've ever had is typically because I feel safe and encouraged and supported by folks around me. And that might mean, my actual household, my husband supports me, my parents, I guess, are proud of me. But outside of that is the people around me every single day that help me get through things. Because in real estate, I think anybody that's listening that has done any kind of real estate knows it's an absolute roller coaster. And there's a ton of corporate jobs and jobs in general that are a roller coaster. But the emotions that can happen when it comes to real estate, because you're dealing with like potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars every single deal. You might lose $20,000 in the morning and gain $75,000 in the afternoon. And that is like a real normal day. It doesn't mean that it happens every day, but this is like reality when it comes to real estate. And I
Yep.
think I think having people to talk to about that. Like my husband is so supportive. He is the coolest freaking guy ever, and he will always be in my corner, but he doesn't necessarily understand the emotions that are going on in my head that I need to share with somebody, that I'm like, "Oh my god, you guys wouldn't believe the thing that we found in the short-term rental today." Or when somebody the first time somebody leaves a gun behind at a short-term rental, that
Mhm.
shit is real. This stuff happens. People trash your stuff. There are delightful things that happen every day, and there are crazy things that happen every day. And I think the people around you are really important, because if you feel like you're the only person that's going through this, the likelihood is you're going to quit, because who the hell goes through stuff like this? Like sometimes it feels like you're
Who
getting
does this by
slapped.
choice? Yeah.
I know. Sometimes it feels like you're getting slapped every day, 10 times a day. And then some weeks it's crickets and you're just like, oh, this is awesome. And you live for those weeks. But I think having those people around you, like you building, like I'm really good at building my own community. Like I talk to short term rental people every single day. I talk to other real estate people that do like wholesaling and flipping, and real estate agents, like pretty much every day, to see what they're going through. Like we commiserate with each other. And I find that to be a really, really important piece of life. Like we're not meant to do life alone. I signed up to be an entrepreneur, I guess. Like I wasn't expecting this. I never, if you would tell me 10 years ago that I was going to have a business, or three, I would be like, yeah, fucking right. Like why on earth? Why? Just why? What kinds of
Yeah.
businesses could you have, Tanya? That kind of stuff. And now fast forward, I'm just like, I have the coolest businesses. I get to hang out with the coolest business owners and like all of this stuff. And it's all because, of chances that I took, and then people that I just decided to meet to help me along the way.
Love it. So this next section here, I like to let people kind of get to know you a little bit better, and so it's a little bit more of a lightning round, kind of your first answer to these questions, sort of
Okay.
thing. What would you say you're most proud of in business you've accomplished?
Oh, um, Profit.
All right, nothing
Because
wrong.
yeah, because you never know if you're actually going to make fucking money. So
Totally a
profit.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Profit.
profit, profitability. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
thing, and it's something to be proud of. What are you most proud of in life that you've accomplished?
Ooh, finding my husband. My husband's like the coolest. So I can't believe that that happened. I have no idea how it did, but it was the right place at the right time, and he's just the cat's pajamas.
There there you go. The cats have pajamas, and they have been found. What one piece of advice would you give our listeners if you could?
Build a tribe. Go find
Uh,
your friends.
all right. What one book would you recommend?
Paulo Colo. It's orange. I don't remember which one it is. It's the one that everybody recommends. Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh no.
No.
The Alchemist. Sorry.
Yeah.
There we go. Hopefully, yeah. The Alchemist is one of the coolest books. You could pick it up. It's a pretty small read, and it's a parable about a guy who, had lots of trials and tribulations, and it's really small. And every single time you pick it up, if you picked it up twice a year, or once a year, or once every 5 years, you will get a completely different message and different lessons throughout it. It's amazing.
Love you. Love it. All right. Favorite movie of all time?
Um, Probably a Marvel movie at this point. Those are the ones that I watch the most, and I
Uh,
really am partial to like Guardians of the Galaxy because the music just makes me smile.
I don't blame you for that. All right. Famous person in history you'd want to meet if you could.
Amelia Earhart, because I really want to know what the hell happened. Like, I would
I
just
want to
like,
know. I'm
I want
curious.
to know. My fourth grade teacher would be so excited to hear that answer because she's the only person that made me even think about that lady ever. I'm just like, what happened? Did you actually go down? Did you figure it out? Like, could you imagine knowing the last half hour of whatever that flight looked like? Oh my God, that'd be so cool.
Yeah, no, no. That, and I wonder what those guys that went down to the Titanic that didn't quite make it with the last little bit of that.
Right.
I watched the recordings of like the last commentary back and forth was
Oof.
between. Yeah, it was not cool. It was not
Yeah.
supposed to be.
Like you just know that it's going to happen. It's so weird because it's just like this inevitability that you feel
Oh
in
yeah.
your soul that you're like, well, I know I'm going to die, but I don't know if I'm going to die in 10 minutes or in 7 hours. I don't know if I'm going to get eaten by a shark or if I'm going
Oh
to
no,
drown.
no, no.
Oh my
At,
God.
at that depth, you don't get eaten by a shark. At that depth, you are paced.
Yeah, but if they floated up though, I mean if they maybe didn't get sucked down by the whole entire boat and were maybe one of the people on the door with, Leonardo
Oh
and Kate
no, no, no,
Winslet.
no. I meant the submarine that went down there. That
Oh, the recent one, not the
yeah,
Titanic. They were
yeah,
looking
yeah.
for the Titanic. Yeah, that would be gross. Yep. Oh my
That was
God, you.
that was not cool. I mean, I there was actually a
Oh,
thing I watched going through the last few minutes of that, and it was not pleasant. I mean, it's like, hey, we hear cracking in the back of the
nope.
yeah, and there's
Nope.
like 30 minutes of this like and it's like slowly ascending. So theoretically the pressure is less and then goodbye. It
Oh, yep. Hate it. That sounds awful. It's kind of like burning to death. Like, who wants to burn? Like, no one wants to
slowly.
die any of these ways, by the way. But you just like, do you want to feel that? I mean, ew.
Yeah, no, no. I'm thinking in my sleep would be the way to go here.
I'm kind of hoping a fiery crash. Like I tell my husband probably every few months, I'm like, let's die together in a fiery crash, please, because the idea of not being, like having to deal with being without each other or something, and or just being really old. Like I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know,
being
being
really old.
95 sounds kind of terrible too.
It can be. It
It
definitely can
can
be.
be. You're right. It can
The,
be. It's
the
not.
Yelp
It can
reviews are not great. I'm not gonna lie.
be. No, they're terrible.
So there's all these one stars and there's one 5-star person that's here. It's great.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, she's 107.
there you go.
She's just like, this is
The
so
dementia's
cool.
the dementia's kicked in. So,
Yeah.
what person from your past would you want to sit down with and have lunch with today if you could?
Ah, my grandpa. So this is interesting. And when I was in high school, my grandpa passed away. So I was probably, I was 17 years old, I think, when that happened. And he used to drag me to like Menards. So in the Midwest, it's like the Home Depot and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Lowe's of
I
Menards. So,
know. I
so
know
people
Menards.
know. Okay. So he used to drag me to Menards like every year for Christmas. Like anytime like we had to hang out with grandpa and grandma, like we had to go to Menards. And man, I hated it. It was like my least favorite thing in the whole world. And now fast forward 20 some years, I flip houses. I spend so much time at Menards. I like do these handy things. And my grandpa would probably be like, you do what, Tanya? Are you kidding? Like, I was just that angsty teenager then who just, I did whatever job that I had. Like, I worked at a gravel pit, I worked at a meat market. Like, I did those jobs, did what I needed to do to make money so I could put money in my, or gas in my car, and that was it. And now, fast forward to what my life is now, I hustle in ways that I never would have imagined. And I would just love to sit down and chat with him about it because I think we would get along in a completely different way. Like, he would be my biggest fan. He'd probably
Yeah,
get to
I'd be
come and
all
hang
over it.
out with me. Like, I would love his help when I'm like, okay, how do I do this new light fixture? I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So that would totally be who I'd pick, my grandpa.
That would be awesome. All
Uh-huh.
right. What one piece of advice would you go back and give a younger version of yourself?
Oh, probably it would probably be something about mindset about what other people think. I think we all go through that at some point in our lives, and some people take longer to for that to get through to them than others. But I think in my 30s, I'm like 38 now. So I think my 30s would have been a heck of a lot like simpler if I wouldn't have cared about stuff like that. And I think honestly, I think real estate is one of the reasons I don't care anymore, because my life used to be very like, here, this is socially acceptable, this is what we do, this is what we do next, we get married. Like, we don't have any children, so I went against the grain with that. But I think once I started getting into this entrepreneurial stuff, I'm just like, I don't care what people say or people
The hell
do.
with you
I
guys.
just, I just, well, I mean, I love people, but I just like, I want to talk about cool ass shit. Like, I want to talk about the people that are hustling to try to get this house that they've talked to this guy for the last 3 years, and now they finally got this house under contract. Or the guy, I heard a story the other day about this guy who literally wanted to work with this man, so he helped him for 2 years. Anytime the guy called, he's just like, hey, he was just bringing value, bringing value, bringing value. And then one day he got a call from this guy named Andy, and Andy's like, hey, I just need you to sign, you to sign this piece of paper. Actually, they're at lunch. And he's like, what is it for? He's like, no, just trust me. So he signed this piece of paper. He's like, I just gave you 2% of my apartment building. I want to work together. Like, shit like that is so cool. How much
Mhm.
cooler is it to talk about things like that than to talk about the drunk at the bar down the road and what they're doing, or
Totally.
who, like, it's exhausting. So knowing that kind of stuff and who cares what people think, and it's just like
No,
the most fun life to live now.
I totally get what you're saying. So let me ask you this. I think I know the answer already based upon our conversation, but who would you want to be stuck in a foxhole with taking fire?
Oh man, I totally wrote this down and I don't know where that piece of paper is. I I probably bring my husband. Like,
As
honestly,
I
like,
said.
yeah, like, it just, I mean, I actually remember, like, I listened to some episodes and I was like, oh, I think I'd bring this person or this person. I came up with some people that were kind of strategic, and then I was like, no, honestly, my husband's this big burly man. Like, I want him to like be protecting me and like just talking me through how the heck we're gonna get to the next spot. Like, totally, he's way too cool to leave behind.
Awesome. What do you do to unwind, Tanya?
Oh, I think if it's a really like a bad day, like I said, it's really really hard mentally. It's TV. It's like the most mindless TV, laugh track shows. Those are my jam. Like, I want to watch some Schitt's Creek or Friends or Parks and Rec. Otherwise, if it's just a fine day and I'm just like, oh cool, let's go do something. I would rather go do fun things. Like, I love rocks and trees. So if any chance I can go to go look at rocks and trees, like big rocks and big trees. So that means forests and mountains. That's my jam.
All right, cool. So obviously you have the entrepreneurial bug, which means that there's always
Mhm.
something rolling around in the back of your head. What's the next project for you?
Oh my word. So we're working on like an 18 unit motel right now in Wisconsin, and I think I've caught the virus of wanting to now do more, and I've already started looking at some other ones, like my dream project, which we figured out, like, me and my husband had a conversation about this about a year or so ago, and he's just like, what would be your dream project or dream deal? And right now that is a motel in Moab because I think Moab, Utah is one of the coolest places like ever. And I just want an excuse to have to go there for like a year and work on a project. So
Mhm.
that's honestly what I've got my sights set on. Like I really, really want a reason to have to go there.
Awesome. All right.
Yeah.
So, that's cool. You have your project lined up. I love it. Where can people find you if they want to know more about what you're doing, Tanya?
Instagram's probably the easiest spot, and that's Tanya Rooney MN, and my name is spelled Tanya and Rooney, and then MN for Minnesota, and then TanyaRooney.com as well. Like we've got some accountability groups going, we've got a podcast, we've got all kinds of stuff like that. So the best place though to ever find me and probably get me to answer a message would be on Instagram.
Good stuff. Well, thank you, Tanya, for your time and for hanging out with us here on the show. It was really fun chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for the invite, Josh. I appreciate it. It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. All right. And I want to thank our listeners for coming once again and hanging out with us. Guys, as I will always do, I want to remind you there is never an excuse not to know your shit. Till next time, guys, take care.